Hey everyone, it's Mark here, aka Captain DeFi from the Oz DeFi Association. This is episode number 4 of Getting to Know the Community series, and we've got a special guest, Jordan Franklin, aka the Happy Spender on TikTok. Make sure you follow her channel if you haven't already. 60,000 people already do, so make sure you do as well. We're going to go through some awesome things about her journey into crypto, the Web3 space, and much, much more. Now, remember, this is not financial advice. This is purely for entertainment and educational purposes only, and we'll get straight to the interview. And we are back, folks, and we've got a very special guest from the community, one of the earliest members of the Oz DeFi show. We've got the Happy Spender, aka Jordan. Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
It's really awesome to have you. I know you're calling in from Canberra and you've done a few Sydney trips every now and then, which has been great. And we always look forward to seeing you. You were at our last meetup event and have been here for other occasions as well. But before we kind of dive in, I think the first question we do with all of these getting to know the community shows is, what is it that brought you to Web3 in the first place, and how long ago did you get started?
Yeah, of course. I mean, firstly, I just want to say what an amazing job I think Oz DeFi Association is doing and bringing more people into the crypto space and just being such a welcoming community at that, because it's so important to make people feel included in such a weird space. So
thank you.
So with that being said, what brought me into the space? I think in marketing, there's this thing called the rule of 7.
Okay.
And it basically says that you have to hear something or see something at least 7 times before you take any action. And one could possibly argue that it's more than 7 times these days, because, you know, we're just hit with so much information and content on a daily basis. But I guess for me, I first heard about Bitcoin back in 2017. I was working at a startup, and you know, the type of people that like work at a startup, and you know, they were super excited about, yeah, exactly. Hands up. They were super excited about Bitcoin. That was the year that Bitcoin reached a then all-time high of about $20,000 per coin.
Yep.
Before it dived right down, and we didn't hear much about Bitcoin for the following years when it went through a big bear market. And then I started to hear more about cryptocurrency last year in 2021, when the market had an enormous year. And I was, you know, driving to work one day, and I was listening to the Tim Ferriss Show, which is one of my favorite podcasts. I absolutely love the guests that he interviews. And one of those guests was Katie Horn.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, so Katie, she was actually recently recognized in Masari's sort of annual, you know, crypto trends for 2022 report as a person to follow in the space. She is an incredible voice, but anyway, her podcast was all about how she was a US federal prosecutor, and she headed the very first, you know, cryptocurrency task force in the US, and infamously charged 2 of those US federal agents involved in the money laundering case on the Bitcoin blockchain. And she found, ironically, you know, she found that investigation to be so interesting, and found the technology so interesting, even in spite of the fact that she was involved in a crime investigation, that she actually decided to make a career switch and move into the Web3 or cryptocurrency space. And she now works at Andreessen Horowitz, and I believe she recently announced that she is launching her own venture capital firm.
Oh, wow.
With a focus on Web3. And I think for me, just hearing someone, a female with a non-technical background, talk about cryptocurrency and NFTs, all these complex concepts in such simple terms, it just really resonated with me, and it made so much sense to me. And, you know, I had definitely heard about cryptocurrency in between those years of when I started at the startup up until that point. But, you know, if the marketing rule of 7 stands true, then she was certainly my 7th message. And that's what ultimately led me to start learning about crypto.
That's amazing. And I had, because we connected via an investment community group on Facebook, and you've been talking about some of the things that you've been doing to get started, like your, what was it, 100 days in crypto or something like that? Or
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, at the time, right around this time, I was running an Instagram page called The Happy Spender, and it kind of wasn't really going anywhere. I found it a little bit hard to find my stride. And I think if for anyone who's tried to create a social media presence, you'll sort of know the struggle. So I was investing in shares at the time, and that's kind of what I wanted my focus to be. And then one day after listening to that podcast, I thought, I'm going to learn about crypto. And there's a way to learn about something called the Feynman technique. And it basically is sort of the process of following 4 steps and then just constantly repeating them. But at a high level, it's researching and then sharing and articulating what you know to an audience, receiving feedback, and then continuing to expand your knowledge. And then you just keep rinse and repeat that process. And I think if ever you want to learn something new, publicly putting it out there is almost like a way to work smarter, not harder, in the sense. I mean, I definitely had to work hard, but when I did 100 days of cryptocurrency on TikTok, it brought so many people to me to help me learn and to guide me in the right direction. So I mean, I posted a video on, day 1 of my cryptocurrency journey. I want to learn about the topic. I was only meant to go to 30 days, but as you know, it did go to 100 days just because.
And more now.
And more now, obviously, once you get into a television series, you want the seasons to keep going. So I went for as long as I could, and haven't looked back.
That's brilliant, and we'll get into that a little bit more later when we when people find out how to get in touch with you, or where to find your content and stuff. I guess the second question is, people come to this space from different angles. Like, they're either coming purely as investors, and I would say, the majority of users in this space are in it for the investment, but there's also researchers and analysts, and there's also people that are trying to build in this space. Would you say that you classify yourself as one of those, or are you kind of across a mix of those? What would you say to that?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I mean, at a very basic level, I think it's really important to research before you invest. So, at some point you'll be a researcher, hopefully, before you're an investor. And that's certainly what I did. So, the first 18 days of my cryptocurrency journey, and you can go back and have a look at my TikTok, but I spent that time researching cryptocurrency as an asset before I then invested about $6,000 on day 19.
Nice.
So now I would say that, I am certainly an investor. I would say I'm a passive investor and an active researcher. I tend to put a lot of time into researching. I also just enjoy the process of researching and reading and, learning as much as I do investing. So I would say first and foremost, I'm a researcher and I'm a learner. And I think I'll always be a learner. I think everyone will always feel like a bit of a learner in this space because it's moving so quickly.
Yeah.
But, ultimately, what I do research, it does inform my investment decisions. And obviously we're all looking for ways to make money. So I'll always be an investor as well. Yeah.
Brilliant. Love it. And, that there is a varied kind of response to that question from the people that we've had so far and the people that we'll have in the future. So it's really interesting to see the different perspectives there. And in terms of the current, where you're at now, like, I know you started your journey last year, but what would you say when people ask, like, what kind of work or investing or things in the Web3 space are you doing currently, or are there things that you're investigating that you can tell us about?
Sure. Gosh. There's so many things to research and investigate. And you can run the risk of trying to put your finger in too many pies at once. And, and then it all becomes a bit overwhelming. But I'd say that, in terms of what I'm actually doing right now is mostly content creation and creating educational products like my ebook that I'm trying to write cryptocurrency for beginners to get out. So I think that most of what I'm working on is actually, again, researching and producing educational content for the masses. And in terms of, other work as well, it's really important to me that we give Australia a really good fighting chance of establishing itself in the Web3 space. So working with my partners like SwiftX and Bamboo, super important, and making sure that Australia sort of gets to, I don't know, like our voice, I guess, is amplified in the space, so that we can be seen as, a haven, I guess, for this kind of like open development in the crypto space. Definitely. So most of my work does center on just my social media channels, but it differs from day to day.
No, that's a great answer. That is, I think it's hard in this space to find someone that is just doing the one thing over and over again, because the space is moving so fast, right?
It's so hard to just focus on doing the one thing, I guess, because in a sense we're spoiled by choice. There's so many exciting topics to explore and so much content to consume, but at the end of the day, it's equally as fun to deep dive on a topic and get a really good understanding of that, and then I guess learning how to communicate that to other people to help them understand it. So that's a challenge that I really, really enjoy, is bridging that kind of gap between what we think about cryptocurrency and Web3 and NFTs versus, our general knowledge about it, and sort of bringing the two together to make it a less intimidating learning journey for other people.
Yeah, oh, indeed. I mean, we're all in ourselves, like where we're all learning because the space is so early and it's moving so fast and no one knows all the answers. But how much more intimidating would it be for someone that's just brand new? So you're doing a great job there with that. And just with regards to the stuff that you have been looking at so far in your own experience, and we ask this with everyone, if there's something in this space that you could improve, and there's probably plenty, but if you could pick one, what is it that you would improve? And do you have any kind of ideas of how you would go about doing that if you could?
Probably say two things that sort of feed into each other and relate to each other. One, I think education about the space is incredibly important and something that we can improve. And particularly something that I'm very interested in is educating more women about the space and creating more content that is marketed towards women. I think that it's hard for us to undo the reputation in our own minds of cryptocurrency being this, sort of pump and dump, like, gambling type of space that's really overrun by a certain kind of person. And I think that narrative is already changing for sure. And I was not the first female to do that, and I certainly hopefully won't be the last. But yeah, I think bringing more women in is into the space is something that really, really excites me. But as for the more like technical answer, I would say that bridging solutions on the blockchain will be something to watch out for. So, I guess technology that helps blockchains talk to one another. There's so many blockchain solutions popping up, all competing and vying to be, at the top, like the Google and Amazon and Facebook of the internet. And obviously there can only be a handful that are, but I think that their success will really depend on interoperability, how easy they are to use. And I think that bridging solutions will be a really big part of that.
Massively agree with you. And we had Cam on the other day in one of these series, and he was talking about, I think Chainlink are doing some stuff in the space and they're well established. There's another thing called Stargate. It's another kind of bridging solution. And there's many others that are coming out there. But like you said, interoperability is really a key. So women, getting more women into this space. And there's plenty already. And it's really interesting because this is a new kind of foundation of finance. It's not like we've got all of these previous years. We are, in a way, it's related. It's not like it's a completely clean slate, but we do get to improve upon how things were in the past, which were fairly uneven, to be honest. And yeah, and interoperability is going to take us there further in the future. So we love that. So that's some great stuff to improve. Now, crystal ball time, and we're not going to hold you to it, but just for fun, if you were to have a crystal ball, and this is optional in terms of what you want to describe. If you want to talk about the industry, something that you're working on specifically more at the micro level, or even just individually, like out of any of those, where do you see it going in the next 12 months if you had that crystal ball?
Sure. It's a really good question. And I guess the easy answer is no one knows. And you should preface any answer or any answer to a question like that with, no one knows what's going to happen. But one event that I'm really interested in this year is the merge. So Ethereum's upgrade from a proof of work to a proof of stake blockchain. And I think that depending on how that goes, it's going to, I think it's either, I guess regardless of how it goes, I think it's still going to, really alight fire under those layer one blockchain solutions to really, seek out and solidify their competitive positions either alongside Ethereum or perhaps, who knows, like even above Ethereum, depending on how the merge goes. So, I think that Ethereum being the number one blockchain in the world and the second biggest cryptocurrency by market cap, I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. But I do believe that if Ethereum's upgrade doesn't result in faster transaction times, cheaper transactions, more decentralization, then perhaps people will pivot elsewhere. And one thing that I've seen in the crypto space is that loyalty is either loyalty to a cryptocurrency or blockchain project or whatever. It's either fierce or completely like tenuous, like it's just non-existent. And I do believe that no matter like how loyal people feel to a certain project or blockchain, you'll always have a group that will absolutely drop something in favor of a better solution over here. So, it'll be a big year for Ethereum. I think that I'll really be watching layer one solutions and how they try to contend with Ethereum's dominance in the market.
Love it. And we'll see indeed what happens over that next 12 months. And like you said, that no one really knows in this space, but it is a massive game of incentives to kind of, we have incentives with our DeFi association where people are coming together because they want to learn and get involved and they want to find a community. And then you see with whatever kind of blockchain layer one, layer two, the loyalty, it really depends on what is driving those incentives and how sticky that can be. So it's certainly something to watch. But speaking of community, and this is the last question that we ask everyone that's been on the show, is what does community mean to you?
Community to me really means inclusivity and making people feel welcome in a space, which, like I said, Oz DeFi Association does so well. It's so accessible. And I think community is accepting of, challenges. I think it's accepting of failures. I think it's accepting of people who don't know it all. And you'd probably be hard pressed to find anyone who knows it all in this space. But, just that feeling that, as a community, we're going to grow together and we're going to learn together and yeah. So I think that community really is just all about bringing in as many people as we can and making them feel included.
Love it. Inclusivity is the key word, I think, there. And many people, if they don't feel included in their community, they've got to question what is going on in that community. And I think whether it's Web 2 or Web 3, we're part of so many different communities, but it's really from, I don't know about you, but from my perspective, getting into the Web 3 space is where it really opened up my eyes, just how important community is. And we were doing it already from Web 2, but it's so much more important in here.
It totally is. And I think that for anyone who, starts to learn about cryptocurrency and Web3, if you find someone who's on that same path, at least in my experience, people are so willing and so excited to have conversations about it because, I don't think that it's, we're still very early, right? So a lot of people still don't understand it. They don't, care to learn about it. And that's okay. Hopefully we'll slowly change that. But it just, I think communities become stronger when I think people can relate to others' experience of what it's like to start here and learn and grow in the space. So
love it. That's a really good answer. And thank you so much for your time today. These are the, one of many community interviews that we're going to do, and we'll probably round back, to see where you are in a couple of months. But for now, Jordan, the Happy Spender, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I better get cracking on that ebook then if you're checking in a few months.
No pressure, no pressure. So all right, cheers. Yeah. There you have it, folks. That was a awesome little catch up with Jordan. And as we said, she is over there in Canberra, comes to Sydney quite a bit, and I'm sure that she's going to do amazing things in her crypto journey. Just like everyone else in the community, we are all in it together. It is all still very early, so no need to feel intimidated or anything like that. As Jordan said, it's all about inclusivity amongst this community. So thank you very much if you made it this far. Please do like, share, and subscribe, and tune in for the next episode.